All right. Anya and Andrea, would you like to
Yes.
introduce yourselves?
Andrea, did you want to go? Oh, well, I'll go ahead and start. My name is Anya Bobadilla. I'm CABE's professional learning specialist and here to support as well. I know that today will be a lot of learning, a lot of questions, and we really want to leave this session with you feeling comfortable and confident for you to be able to assist us next week. So feel free throughout the session today to ask any of those questions, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to my colleague, Andrea.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea Gonzalez, and today I will be leading you through the before session portion of the facilitator support guide. Just a quick question. Am I sharing my screen right now?
Yeah,
everyone can see. Okay, great.
Perfect.
All right. It is divided into 3 sections. The first section is for all the support team. The next section is for the Zoom facilitators, and the third section is for the chat handlers. This guide will help you remember what tasks to do before the session begins. Ruby and Anya had created this facilitator guide for you all to have a smooth and easy experience while you help facilitate through the sessions. First off, here's a link that will direct you to an Excel sheet of all the staff, cell phone numbers, and emails in case you need to get in contact with them. And this is what it looks like. You would just, going back on here, you hover over and it will direct you there. Next, it is important to make sure you have your Zoom up to date. So we've inserted a link so you can be informed with any Zoom updates as well. And here is a link. And I've actually updated my Zoom as well. So you would just click here. It would come down here at the bottom, and you'd click run so it can install the new update. Let's see. Moving on to finding an appropriate space. You want to make sure you have a private and quiet space with good lighting, stable surface, and a strong network connection. Before the session, we'd like you, if you can please change your Zoom background to the CABE 2022 conference theme background, which you will find in this link here. You just hover over and you'd click the link, which is this one here. And for the CABE staff, you will have to find your personalized background with your title and name on it and save it so you can set it as default during the conference. Our colleague Carmina has created a short tutorial on how to change your background, and we will include the link in the chat for you to check it out in case you need help on how to do so. And this is what the video would look like. And you just click play to learn more about that. Going back here. Looking back at the guide, it is important that you log in 30 minutes before the first session to review roles and responsibilities. After the first session, the Zoom facilitator should initiate meeting 20 minutes before to the presentation. Please make sure to start on time, even if not all participants are in the room yet. Also remember to rename yourself, first name and last name, and last initial, CABE facilitator or chat handler, whichever role you'll be taking. If you're having connectivity issues, please follow the attached protocol, which you'll see here. And Anya will explain more on that later. Okay. And then moving on with the Zoom facilitator. Log into and start the assigned account at least 30 minutes prior or before the start of the first workshop session and 20 minutes prior for the consecutive sessions. Make sure the waiting room is enabled. If the bell sound, which you might be hearing, is too distracting, you can turn it off, but make sure that you're constantly checking the waiting room for attendees joining. And we have an image at the end of the this document so you can see what that looks like. Please make sure you only use a remove participant option when permanently removing any inappropriate attendees. Personally, from past experience, I've never had to do that, but just in case, we do have an option for that. Please use send to the waiting room when placing participants on hold. Approve the presenter and the support staff to join the session from the waiting room. It is important you make sure you know who will be the chat handler or facilitator. That way they join in before you let everyone else in. Assign host or co-host role to the presenter and the support staff as requested. Both the host and co-host can manage breakout rooms during the session and can set up different breakout rooms or groups. You want to test your computer, video, the sound, lighting, and Zoom settings for facilitator and support staff. And test and provide feedback for screen sharing, PowerPoint, video player settings, participant folder, Google link, polls, breakout rooms, etc. Inform the presenter that they will receive a 10-minute and a 3-minute warning bell. And we've also inserted a link here on YouTube so you can use the video that has the bell on it. Ask the presenter to signal with the thumbs up that they hear the warning. We strongly suggest to the presenters that they set up their own timers so it doesn't interfere with their presentation and that they're well aware of their remaining time. Begin to admit participants into the session 2 minutes prior to the start time. And you want to make sure the settings are set so only the host and co-host can share screen at this time. I believe it is programmed already, so anytime you let any participants in, they're automatically muted, but just in case, they should be muted as they enter the session. And we also want to make sure the session is being recorded once it begins. Make announcements about the structure of the session and introduce support staff. And we also, Anya will explain that a little later. And then we want to share the slide with norms when the session opens. And let me show you what that looks like. We don't want to take much time of the presenter, so we just briefly mention these norms before the session begins, or before we pass it over to the presenter. And now for the chat handler. It is important to have available the customer service information and share it in the chat. You should put customer service information and include the email, the phone number, or the Zoom link, which will be for the live support. We will have live support in case they need any support. And if you can also connect with Liz or Irma, if you have any questions regarding registration, we have a Zoom link as well. And this would be the link. You just hover over and it'll take you there. Confirm with the presenter if any links will need to be shared throughout the presentation. If the links will need to be shared, presenters should provide links to a Google Doc with all the links needed before the start of the session, or they can post them on the chat for you to copy and repaste as needed. And that's another important thing, because as attendees or participants come in, they don't get to see what has been written in the chat before. So it is important for them to, for you to repaste any documents or links onto the chat as participants come in. Let's see, also, confirm with the presenter how they want to handle questions in the chat about the presentation. Typically, the questions are handled at the end of the session, just so all the information can be presented at the, during the beginning of the session. Have conference information and FAQ ready to share with the participants as needed. Only the general session and closing sessions will offer an interpretation. For interpretation questions, see the chat handler blurb towards the end of the page. And that is also on the, I believe, on the protocols and scripts document. Send a message to the waiting room as participants start logging in. And you can copy and paste welcome. The session will open in 2 minutes before the scheduled start time, just to give them a courtesy warning. And that is pretty much it for before the session begins.
Yes. Yes, no, thank you so much, Andrea. And I do want to give you a little bit more background on the guide that you will be using. So we developed this document to support with the conference, which we know that we have a lot of our colleagues that have had a lot of experience with us and through the events with CABE, our virtual events, but we do know that we have some colleagues, family members that will be joining and supporting the conference as chat handlers and Zoom facilitators this year. So just for you guys to know, this is our 47th CABE conference. So this is, we've been doing this for a while, but we're learning how to do it online, right? And so we are grateful that you're here with us. Our purpose is to make sure that our families, our participants, our colleagues walk away with great opportunities to learn on how to support English learners by literacy programs and how to just create better and more inviting environments for our students. So we will have presenters from all over the country. We will have presenters from California, and we will also have a lot of participants from not even internationally, right? We also work with some of our colleagues in Mexico. So this is a pretty big event. We are expecting over 3,000 participants. So your support is very much appreciated. So in order to support you with the conference, because the sessions will be after school, we'll be starting, we will have a general session starting at 3:30, and then we will start our sessions at around 4 o'clock, which you will get through the portal. You will get the exact times that you will need to be logged in. But we will be supporting sessions after school, so our teachers are able to attend. And so you will be supporting with, depending on your schedule and what Zoom room you are assigned to, you may be supporting with 1 session, with 2 sessions, 3 sessions. So some of you may not get necessarily just a lot of sessions, right? And some of you may just be on 1 session or 2 sessions. You will be receiving an email that will give you your specific role. As you saw on the guide, we divided the tasks into 2 different roles, right? Some of you will be Zoom facilitators. So you will be, and we will go over a lot of Zoom controls here in a bit, but you will be in charge of supporting the presenter with Zoom, supporting the participants, like we said, the controls, making sure that everybody can see the screen, things like that. And the chat handler will be the one monitoring the chat to make sure that all the information that needs to be shared with the participants is included in the chat, but then also that you're monitoring for any issues or any needs from the participants, right? So on this guide that we're sharing with you, you will see, and you can read throughout, it is important for you to become familiar with both roles, right? So you know what your responsibilities will be. However, we do have some rooms that may only have one person supporting. So if you happen to be in one of those rooms, you will be, you will need to do some of the tasks for both the Zoom facilitator and the chat handler. So please read through the entire thing, but you will get an email letting you know what your specific role will be if you will have another support person in your room. I do want to pause and take a minute to see if there are any questions about what will be happening or the expectations for what will be happening before the session starts. Okay, and please feel free to add any questions to the chat. We know that a lot of you have done this for a while, but if you have not, then feel free to just ask any of us, right, or put in the chat, and we'll be able to support you. I did see a quick question in the chat. Let's see. I think it says about the Was the document shared to all of, yes,
Yes.
and we will put it, oh, yes, thank you,
Yeah,
Annie.
no, sorry, I was muted. I did see the question. I've just reshared the link here with you. And so if you could, if it's possible to save it or start in terms of in your drive, that way it's there and it's ready for you to access whenever possible.
So keep in mind that this document, it still needs a few updated links because we may still be working on some of those things. So if you see anything that's not right, or you can't find something, so for example, the Zoom backgrounds for some of our colleagues that will be supporting may not be there yet, but we'll be adding those so everybody can have a Zoom background that has the CABE logo on the back. Okay, so we will be updating some of those links as well. And as you saw, right, there are folders for everything that you will need. However, we linked everything on the document, so you just need to go to that document, right? So if you need a script, or if you need a link, or you need a phone number, somebody's asking for support, that's where you will find it. You will find it in this document. So it's a one place for everything. Another thing to keep in mind is that as Zoom facilitators and chat handlers, we want you to just focus on supporting the presenter, right? So if somebody comes in and they're having issues with their computer and they can't log in or they can't log into the portal, what we want you to do is direct them to customer service, right? And that's why you will have those links in the guide. Because we want you to focus on, we don't want them to stop the presenter or stop the presentation, right? To deal with some of those technical issues that they may have. So what we recommend is, if it's something that can't be fixed right quick on the spot, right? Then give them the link or phone number to customer service so that they can support them with their question, right? That way it continues to flow. And another thought about also communicating with your presenter to make sure that you have a plan on what if they go over their time, right? Because last year we had a very short transition time between sessions. This year we have a longer time, so there's a little bit of wiggle room, right? In case somebody needs an additional 2-3 minutes, right, to their session to close up. But we do want to make sure that you communicate right away with your presenter, right? That you will be reminding them when their time is up, right? And if they still keep going, right, it's okay. You let them know that you'll step in and just give them an additional 30 seconds, right, or minute to close the session. That way we can keep everybody on time. It is critical that we stay on time as much as possible because we don't want to run into the next session, right, or take the time from the next presenter. But we also want to be considerate of the presenters, right? Sometimes they have a lot of questions from participants, right? And they're trying their best to address everyone. So we just want to be gracious when we communicate with them about their time. So just wanted to make those comments about those sections that I know are critical. I don't know if in the meantime, are there any other questions? Okay, so
chat, yeah.
Okay, all right. So this would be the first part, right, of your responsibilities to support our presenters, and then Anya will go over the responsibilities as you are during the session, and also the supports that will be linked on the guide.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen now. And so thank you, Ruby, because those were just very important points. So like Ruby mentioned, we do have separate folders for us as staff, but to make it easier on everybody, all the links that you will need for all of those days of our conference will all be linked here. So really, this is the document to save. And so Andrea, thank you for sharing what we would have to do prior to the conference, and now it's during the session. And it's just reiterating, again, our responsibility if we are the Zoom facilitator. Our job really is to kind of be there to support the facilitator, not so much the technical side. If we're able to help, that would be amazing, and we could do so if it's quick, but really we are there to support the facilitator and presenter and really make sure that the presentation goes smooth for them as well. So just as the session is starting, we just want to remind you to, if your session hasn't automatically started to record, to just press the record button, and it will ask to record either on your drive or on the cloud. So we asked if it could be recorded on the cloud. Prior to the presenter actually talking, just introduce yourself or the support team, yourself and the chat handler to the group, and guide participants to use a chat feature to reach out to you and not interrupt the presenter as they're doing their session. We will go over the scripts and protocols in a bit. And just like Andrea mentioned, we do have this slide that you will be sharing as as people are coming into this session. So it'll be our welcome, bienvenidos, and that's all, linked there. We want to also give the floor to the presenter. So we'll look at the script now. And when we look at the script, we also see that it's divided for Zoom facilitator, and then the yellow section is for the chat handler. So if we look at the Zoom facilitator section, we just have a bit of a script that you can either say to really just introduce yourself, introduce the team, and really introduce a presenter. So it's, just stating your name, what you're part of CABE team you're in, who your chat handler for the session is, if you were to have one, and then of course introduce your presenter. So it just kind of follows what you would say at the beginning, at the end of the session as well. Thank you for joining us. We'll now have a 20-minute break before you enter the next session. And it is provided in English and in Spanish, as some of our sessions will be held in Spanish. So if you do happen to have a session that is in Spanish, we do have a script in Spanish for you to follow. And then at the end of the final workshop for the day, we'll go ahead and just have a separate script for that as well. So that's kind of the protocol of the script for you. Just feel free to, of course, you can ad lib if you feel so, but really just the purpose is to just introduce the team, let the audience know that you are there to support, and then give the floor to the presenter. We do ask that you are in charge of course, providing that support to the presenter, which is muting. You do have host control, so you'll be able to mute people, unmute people, shut down their video if by any chance they're causing any issues. We do want to ask that you monitor the session for security in case we have any Zoom bombers. It has happened where people are there where they're not supposed to. So we just want to be able to kind of be in charge of making sure that those people are taken out of our session. You are the person that's kind of responsible of either keeping track or really managing the time, reminding the presenter to end on time. And like Ruby mentioned, prior to the session, really talk to the presenter about how they'd like to be asked that the session be ended. Maybe they do want a reminder 10 minutes ahead of time. They would like a bell to be rung. Whatever it is that the presenter really feels more comfortable with. We do have the option if some presenters do prefer to have a bell be rung rather than be interrupted. We do have a video here that you can play, and it's just a handbell sound effect. So if the presenter does prefer to just hear a little sound or an alarm rather than you telling them that the session might be ending, that would work. We do want to try to end the session on time as much as possible and log in for the next session as promptly and as quickly as we can. We do want to be considerate to all of our presenters throughout the day. Again, we do have protocols in case we have no-show presenters or we have people that are having issues. So if for example, we experience technical difficulties, we will have a slide here available for you under that same link of presenter connectivity issues. So you'll just see a sign that says either the session is experiencing technical difficulties, if it's been canceled for whatever reason, and just make sure that you are using the correct date, because if the session is canceled, we do want to be able to guide people to go to attend another session depending on the time. So we do have these slides for each day. Wednesday, you'll see that you notice one as well for Thursday, Friday, and so on. So just being aware if the session is canceled for any emergency, if we are having any technical issues, make sure that we do have that slide open and we're sharing our screen so that everybody that happens to walk into that session is aware of what is going on. And then for our chat handler, same thing. Your responsibility would mainly be to monitor the chat for questions and needs of participants and direct them to that appropriate place. Like we mentioned earlier, it's not really, we don't really want you to take on the task of solving their issues, especially if they're tech issues. It's just really so they're not interrupting and we can have that free time to really send any links that the presenter maybe would like for us to share, answer any questions, or really support the presenter. So really just try to find the support link or number to where they need to be sent. And that again can be found in the document scripts and protocols. If we look at that one once more, at the very bottom, so this would be your script as a chat handler. You would place in the chat as people come in a quick script here, good morning, good afternoon, and all the Zoom guidelines. It's also available in Spanish if you're the chat handler in a Spanish session. And then at the end of the workshop, what we'd like for you to do is in the chat, place this short blurb, thank you for joining us. And then of course it has a feedback form link, which you will click here. Just make sure that is the correct date and time of the session. So you would just be responsible for either getting the short link or the full link. So if you are at the session for the 30th of March at 9:30, just make sure we click this link and that's the one we share for that session. We really like to ask all of our participants for feedback and just really to help guide us in our future conferences that we may have. And then, so if we keep going down here, we have those protocols for those potential issues that I was mentioning before. So if you do need to contact any of us other CABE members, we do have our staff Gmail accounts, phone numbers here, and we do ask to keep these private. These are all our staff numbers, but in case of any emergency that might happen, that is there for you to reach out to us. And then let them know that you're going to be taking over the role. If you're unable to reconnect, we want to just, this is in case you have any connectivity issues. If you, for whatever reason, your Wi-Fi is not working, knock on wood, whatever reason your Wi-Fi may not be working, we just ask that you let somebody know, especially if it's your group that you're working with. Any protocol for presenters that are unable to show or they can't connect, we do have a protocol for them again, just to have you read the script and to again place that slide for everybody to be aware of what's happening. And then protocols again for our presenters if they're either frozen or they're kicked out. So we do have some of our protocols, and that's why we ask that you really just take a couple of minutes to just really read through all of these protocols that we have, just in case we're trying to predict, any issues that may happen. We know that sometimes circumstances happen that we just can't predict, but we are trying to prevent as many of those nuisances that we can. And then again, a protocol for participants with severe connectivity issues. We have scripts in case there's really just severe tech support needed. And at the very bottom, you'll find all the links that you could send to all the people that are having issues that might be in our audience. For example, if somebody really is just having issues, either connecting to their next session, send them to our CABE customer service email or phone number, because really that's, again, what our role should be. We don't really want to try to we want to support our presenter as much as we can and really guide our audience to get the support that they need. So you'll see here at the bottom all these special emails, numbers that we might need in case they need extra assistance, if they might be having a really difficult time. The ones that are bolded in yellow, those are the links that we still are working on to provide for you, but they will be here once we have those. But again, if somebody in the chat asks, hey, I don't have my swag bag link, we can reach it from here and add it in the chat. And then again, the feedback form links is linked down here in case we forget where those feedback forms are. If people are asking about membership and how they can become a CABE member, any conference website, and then also if we'd like to share our social media handles and hashtags throughout the presentation, that would be great. So I'll go ahead and pause right there. I know that was a lot of information, but I'll go ahead and just pause for a second just to see. And we also do have some troubleshooting, some more troubleshooting information on this same guide. But again, all of the other pages that I showed you, the scripts and protocols, the slides to showcase and display, those are all linked to here as well. And so I'll just pause in case anybody has any questions. And I believe this meeting is recorded, so I believe it will be posted in the future. I'm assuming for people to review. Yeah. And then I see. Oh, and then thank you, Alex. Yes, if your speaker does prefer a bell sound, yeah, oftentimes we can't share our own sound of the presenter sharing their screen. So maybe having that bell sound on your cell phone and just unmuting yourself and just ringing it, holding your cell phone. Thank you, Alex. That's a nice reminder for us. Any other questions on this before we move on to, we do want to go over the Zoom controls just in case some of us need a little refresher on where the buttons are and where all of that is located.
And just a quick note, we know we're probably giving you a lot more information that you will need, right? Last year we had great sessions, very minimal issues. Our facilitators and our presenters were amazing. So we're not anticipating you to need all of this, right? But it's just in case that you do, we want to have something for you. So just become familiar with it, right? And know, as you heard, right, if there's an issue, there's probably a solution in the guide for you. So that would be your first place to go, right? If nothing in there helps you with whatever issue you're dealing with, then feel free to contact anyone. We will give you a specific contact people to reach out to. And like we said, we did share that contact list, right? In case you need to get a hold of anybody for any emergencies or anything that may come up.
Yeah, thank you, Ruby. And yes, we don't want to make any of you feel nervous that anything can go wrong, but we do want to give you, in case something were to happen, you can find the solution there. And us as a team will be here as well. So we'll be at arm's length and just be able to support in any way. And so we really want to, like we said, we can't predict, but we want to be able to find those solutions as well as best as we can. And so I guess we'll go on to the next section if there aren't any questions on that anymore. And so let me go ahead. And then Andrea, if you don't mind sharing that part. Okay, let me. There we go. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do is just a quick recap of our of how do we provide this Zoom support, and just any reminders for any of us. I know us as a CABE staff, we've been on Zoom on the daily, so this is probably not as much as a reminder, but it sometimes helps. So again, we do have our link, our folder that we've shared with you, our page. And so just as a reminder here, we can go either to zoom.com to log into the account that we'll be in charge of. And again, if we're not sure what room number we're in, if we're either a facilitator or chat handler, that's still something that's being in the works. So as soon as we know, we can go ahead and go to Zoom, make sure we sign in. After this, let me see this section. So we will see, once you go in there, you'll see a list of all of the sessions, and you'll just click on start for the meeting. You'll be opening. Once it's started, the meeting can't be edited. So we really want you to really make sure, and this screen here, it's really what it looks like when there's a meeting in progress. So you'll see that little red camera going on. And so you can also join by clicking join to come in automatically as a co-host. And if you do press that end button, it will end the meeting for everyone in the room. So if you're not the host and you get kicked out, Zoom will automatically make one of the co-hosts a host. So just in case, we always want to make sure that there's always someone else assigned as a co-host, because that is a nice feature from Zoom. In case I get kicked out, anybody else that is a co-host as well will just automatically become a host. And then for the next slide, we do ask that once this is here, we don't want to start a new meeting. There's already a meeting in progress. We want to wait until the meeting is ended by the host, because this is another feature that Zoom has. There cannot be two meetings happening at the same time. So if we on accident end one of the meetings, and maybe it just went over for 2-3 minutes, and if we close it, the meeting just ends automatically. So there can't be two meetings going on at the same time. We do want to wait for the first session to end. And then I see, Lori, your hand is raised.
Yes, I just had a quick question. Some of us, I believe, will be in the rooms by ourselves. In other words, we won't necessarily have someone to assign as a co-host.
Yeah.
Correct. Is that correct?
Yeah, so some of us might have that issue. One of the things that I would suggest is, if possible, maybe having our cell phone as well and signing in, so we have two of our devices. I know it's not ideal to work via our phone, but just in the meantime, till we get back reconnected. But yes, we are hoping, that we can get all those rooms filled, but unfortunately right now we are still a little low on people that are volunteering.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Of course. Okay. And then, so here we can also join. Another option is to join through the Zoom app for us that have the Zoom app, and we can download this. To see the scheduled meetings here, you just go to the meetings on top. Do not change any of the settings. We really ask not to change them, the name or the picture. You can check for updates to Zoom through the app menu. And then this will automatically just download any new updates. As Andrea mentioned, we do want you to really check if your Zoom is up to date, just to avoid any Zoom issues that may arise. And then once we click the meetings button, like you look at this picture, you'll see the scheduled meetings in the account, and then we click the start button on the session here, and it'll open the session for us, and then it'll begin. In the app, we can't open a new session if there's already a new session in progress. This is a bit different from the web browser login. So in the web browser one, it does have that option to accidentally start another one at a time, but through the app, if you notice, the start button is now kind of grayed out, so we don't have that option to start. So that is a nice little perk of doing this through the app. And then the next slide will just kind of be a reminder to just make sure that you've selected the right microphone. You see this on the left-hand side here. It'll either ask you to, if you're using headphones, your headset, if you're using your speakers. So just make sure that you select the right microphone and speaker. If you're using headphones, a new option will show up. And then you may have to, not often, but you may have to manually choose it. And these are all the controls that may be available on your Zoom bar menu. So it might ask you to, if you hear ringtone, not always, but this is something that may occur as you're setting up your audio. And Lori, I'm not sure if your hand is raised again or if it's just
yes.
I'm sorry. I was like, oh, I wasn't sure.
Do you know, are these rooms set up to record in high res?
Oh, I'm not sure.
That might be something to check on all of them. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure. I don't know if Vanessa.
They're all set to record in the cloud, but I know there's like the high definition option or something like that. Once somebody told us not to add that because something about depending on the person's internet or something like that, it might be too much for it. So we just do the basic record it, and we record it in the cloud, so everything will be uploaded to the Zoom website.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I believe they're all set up to automatically record, but just in case or not, we did add that in the facilitator guide, just as a reminder, if you are the facilitator, to just make sure that the session is recorded. We do want to make the sessions available on Sched afterwards. And then the next slide, if we can go to the next one, it says to temporarily unmute, you know, we want to, in case we want to unmute, we can either press and hold the space bar option. That's an option instead of just going to the mute button and muting ourselves. So just in case, I know we often still to this day forget to unmute ourselves, that space bar is there to kind of press and hold and help us with that. Then we can also change our video settings by clicking the up arrow next to the camera icon that we see on the bottom left here as well. So we can click that, and if we click mirror my video, we'll see our background backwards, but the participants will see them the right way. So just make sure that you're not mirroring your video to avoid any confusion. So as an option, there's that. And then so that's the same session here, the video sessions. And then the next part would be to click auto to adjust for low light when you're in a room, when your room is getting darker. This is especially important for us since our sessions are going to be held in the evening, and it starts getting a bit darker in our rooms. So we might just want to click that auto to adjust for low light, and that way we don't have to worry about that as well. To change our background, and this is, again, we already shared the video, but we can go ahead and share the YouTube link once more. But just to change our background, we're going to download the screenshot that you will be provided with once it's available to you. And then you just save it onto your home screen. You add it onto the section, the previous section to add it. There we go. Thank you. Where it says add image, and then we can go ahead and upload that background. And I'll go ahead and share once more that tutorial in case any of us still need that support, and how do we change our Zoom background. Thank you. And then we do want you to just become a bit familiar with the security options, making sure that all the options for allow participants to. So if we notice here, we see allow participants to either chat, rename themselves, unmute themselves, or start video. We really want to make sure that all of these are checked except for the share screen, unless the presenter requests it. Again, we want to ask, make sure with the presenter what they're comfortable with. We want to make sure we enable the waiting room is checked off, if you notice here, because we don't want to lock the meetings either. Where it says lock meeting, we want to leave it open. People won't be able to join in case of Zoom bombers immediately suspend that participant's activity. We do that by finding that person who's causing the issues, and then we just remove them from the session. Once the issue is resolved, you can once again check off the allow participants to options. And then here, if we want to keep our Zoom on top of all of our screens, we can choose this option where it says, we click right here on the top, and it says keep on top. This is useful when we minimize the Zoom screen to view other documents. In case our participant asks us to share other documents, we can minimize this and be able to access all the other screens that we have. But it's also handy in case we do have that, we need that ability, but also still want to see the presentation as it's occurring. And then if we want to keep, where is this? This session here, what is this section? I can't really see, sorry. Oh, we just want to, again, so this is the button that if you're host and your co-host, oftentimes when people are entering the session, you hear a little bell going on. For me, it's very useful because sometimes I get really into the session, or I'm running the session. So that little sound just is a reminder for me to that somebody is in the waiting room. If it's something that we might not prefer, oftentimes a presenter doesn't prefer that sound, and that could be a little distracting for them. So again, just ask the presenter if they'd like that sound taken off, and we just go to this button here, play sound when someone joins or leaves, or we uncheck it if we want to take that sound off. And then this next section here is this green badge here, this little like shield with the green. It contains all of the Zoom meeting information. So we notice that in case somebody's having issues with the Zoom, they're just keep logging on and off, we can get them the link or any support, but it just has all the Zoom meeting information here. And then once participants start joining, you're going to hear that tone that we mentioned. So you can click admit to allow them into the room. You can also mute them all in case there's an issue with Zoom bombers, especially when the session is already taking place and maybe people come in late. We do want to make sure that it is clicked on mute all participants upon entering, just so it doesn't cause any distraction to the session. And then the next slide, we can see that we can send people into the waiting room. We can send messages into the waiting room. We can send people into the waiting room in case we need to send them there. Just make sure that it's set to everyone in the waiting room, and you'll have to repeat the message every time someone new comes in. And this is also the case for any messages that we send throughout our session. If we are welcoming people into the session, but some people come in after you've sent that message, you do need to resend that message in the chat, as people just view the chat as soon as they come in. The next slide, we'll see that these are the controls for participants through the participant window. So this is what they see as participants, what we're seeing right now as participants. And we use this to make them co-hosts. Again, like we mentioned, if you do have a facilitator or a chat and a chat handler and your presenter, all three of you will either be hosts or co-hosts. And you can also use this to rename them if they're unable to figure it out. So if they're having issues, you know, in the chat, they're asking you to that they can't rename themselves, we can do that via this button as well. And then our next section here, we see that this is a button to rename yourself. You will have to rename yourself at every session. So as soon as you come in, if your name isn't there, you might just come in as CABE, California. We do ask that you rename yourself, and that's just for the participants to be able to identify you if they are in need of some support. You can also find or click the three dots on the top here on the top right of your profile picture to unmute, rename, stop the video, or choose your virtual background. So really you have that option there as well. And then next section we going on to is the viewing settings. So here we can change our view with the top right view option. So we look at the bottom, we can either see gallery view, speaker view, and that's just really for us, our preference on how we'd like to view the presentation. If we do pin ourselves, we try to pin our speakers just to highlight them as they're speaking. Participants will only see that person. It is possible to pin more than one person, but for most of our sessions, it may be one, but if there's more than one, we can pin more than one person during our session. And then we then click remove pin to allow participants to see anyone that's speaking. If it's maybe a part in the session where the presenter would like questions, you know, open questions, we can unpin them, remove the pin so that we can see each other in the sessions as well. And then our chat settings, we want to make sure that we are sending messages to the entire group. If you do need to send a private message, especially for those people that are needing that support, we just want to make sure that we are sending it to the correct person here. And then just this next one, to remove it from the window, click pop out. So this will come out the chat, and oftentimes it's kind of in the way, and we just either click pop out or we close it on the X. And I'll pause right there just in case anybody has any questions, because I know this is a lot. I know for some of us it's a reminder, but for maybe any of us that still have any questions. Okay, so I'll go on to this next part. If we go to the next slide. So this, we're here to kind of share the screen. And so this again would be something that I would suggest that we talk to our speaker about. Some of our presenters feel comfortable sharing their own screens. Some presenters do want that support. Just like right now, I'm having Andrea share the screen. So just really decide who is going to be the person that shares. If you do have to share your screen for whatever reason, you click on that button that says share screen. It'll turn green, and it will ask you to choose where which, if you can go back, Andrea, sorry, just real quick, it will ask you to kind of pick the screen that you do want to share. So we just want to make sure that we do click the correct one. If we want to share our entire screen, or just, for example, if we look at the bottom, there's that little Google Chrome. So maybe that's the only thing we'd like to share. So just making sure that before we just share, we click the right one. Here is the next section, just to only share our sound. Maybe when people are coming in, we like to play some music, or if the presenter only wants to share sound or asks you to share, we do have that advanced button on the side, where you see basic on the left and then advanced, and then this is a section that will ask us to enable sound or share anything else there. And then when we are sharing a sound, you won't see a screen, so you'll only hear the sound. To stop the sound, we just click stop share. So you notice at the very top, you don't see anything that you're sharing screen wise, it'll just be your sound. And to stop that, we just stop that share right away. And then when we are sharing the screen, you'll see that condensed zoom controls on the very top. So those will be kind of floating around, which you can then move around as you're presenting, but they will be there, and they also oftentimes disappear. But if you just kind of move your mouse, they'll appear once again. And then again, just another thing we can do is we can pause our screen. If we are sharing something and maybe we just want to take a break or a pause, we just go ahead and pause our screen here. It'll tell us that our sharing is paused. So once we want to share once more, we do want to make sure that we click resume share, or else it'll just stay on the same screen where we pause it. So that's just a little reminder for us. If we do pause, we want to be able to resume that share once we do that. And then our next section here is that we have the presenter and the participants will be able to annotate on the presentation. This again, it's just an option if the presenter asks for us to do. We do have this annotation as a host. We're able to allow people, we see that button at the very top that says annotate. We can allow for participants to either write on the screen, do little texts or check marks. And that again is really based on mainly the presenter if they have any activity where they do ask for that. And then our next section, just as a reminder, making sure that we record the session on the cloud and not on the computer. They are set to record, but just in case, we will see that record button on the bottom. So we just make sure that we click that and we want to record it on the cloud. That way it's accessible by our IT team to record. Participants will see the record button, but they will also get this message, and we've heard it when we started recording. So we do want to make sure that we remind our participants that it will be recorded in case they, they aren't comfortable with recordings, they can go ahead and keep their camera off. And then for auto transcription, we want to choose live transcript, and this is just options if available or if we would need them. And then we have those reactions that we've all come to really use and love to use. We have our little emojis on the next one. Yeah, so we have our little thumbs up or clapping, and then we can allow our participants to raise their hand and utilize this as well. And then everyone will see this here, and they and won't disappear until the participant has removed it. So this here, if we ask them to either chat, unless they've closed it, they can see it. So again, this is the site on what it looks like for us as participants, or for our participants when they're there. And then you as a host and co-host will see this little hand being raised up if somebody does have a question. Like I know Lori asked a question, so we get to view if somebody is there, and it'll notify us who it is that is asking that question as well. And then this is another way to lower the participant's hand. It does ask you to just kind of click there and lower their hand. And then we also have live buttons. They may be available, but they're not being used. Again, especially those translating sessions, those sessions will just be the opening and closing sessions that will have that translation available for us. Sorry, I just got a little. And so that is a lot of information, I know, but we did want to give you times to explore. I don't know if we do have that time. What do you say? I don't know if people do need it.
Well, I think we can go over which the great thing is you can watch the recording if you want to
Yeah.
review some of these controls, but we did want to give you the different options that Zoom has. But I think the last one would be the breakout groups. We don't anticipate our presenters to use a lot of breakout groups. We don't want to say no, right? But we know that their time is limited. So we want to remind them, right, that if they're going to use breakout groups, they still need to make sure and have enough time to present all their content. So, so just, keep them, ask them to keep that in mind. If they still choose to create breakout groups, then you can support them with that, or they can do it themselves if they feel comfortable doing it themselves. But we will, if we can go to the next slide so that we can show you have the option to automatically create, which that's what we recommend, because you won't have time to make specific breakout groups, right? So if you do need to make breakout groups, we do suggest that you let the presenters know that there will be most likely random grouping. You can just ask them about how many people they want, right? And you can just put the number, number of participants divided by the number of groups that you can create, or you want to create, and that way you can kind of have. We recommend 4 to 5 people, because less than that, sometimes not everybody wants to say anything. So 4 or 5 people in a group is good if they have that question. And then also just know that you can create or add more rooms if needed. Again, all of those controls would be on the Zoom breakout controls. You can also set how long the groups are. If you look at that options button right there, then you can see you can schedule it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long the presenter would like them to be. So ahead of time, it would be useful, right? If they say anything about groups, right? So that you can prepare them as soon as possible. Both the host and the co-host can do that. So if either one of you or even the presenter can do that if they feel comfortable with that. And then also just know that we can set also the time. So if you want them to come back in 30 seconds after you close the groups, you can change that time as well. All right. And then we do have a new feature, which, yes, Laura, thank you for letting us know, which I don't know if we have a slide for that, but I believe that we do have a new feature that Zoom allows you to share your screen into breakout groups. So everybody will see it. The only thing is that it won't allow them to share their screen, right? So, if there's, there's a question, there's an option for that in your Zoom controls at the top. Mm-hmm. And then also, this is how participants will know what breakout group it is they're going into. One thing that we recommend is if, for some of you, most of you will be short sessions, so you won't probably be doing breakout groups. But for some of you that may be doing an institute, you will probably need to create breakout groups, because a lot of those sessions will be collaborative. So we do recommend that you remind participants to keep note of what room they're going into. In case they get kicked out, right, they can get placed back in the same room that they were participating in. So that's something to remind them, and that's how you see what group, what breakout room they're in. And as you see right here, also it says, it says join breakout groups, and it says breakout room 1, right? So it might say 1 or 2 or 3. So that way they can keep track of what groups they're in. And then again, we can see the different ways that you can assign them automatically, manually, or sometimes you can create groups and let people select the groups. That would be more advanced, which we don't recommend, because it may take a lot. Not everybody, not all the participants know how to do that. So we do recommend that, again, we let the participants know that it's better if they're random groups, just for the sake of staying within our time frame.
And let's see Laura's hand. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, girls. I just wanted to add, you just commented that the sharing screen to the different breakout rooms Just to be aware that the option is going to be popping out until you're sending everybody to the breakout room. And also just remind the presenter, if he is sharing his screen, the screen will be going with him. So if he go and visit another breakout room, everybody will lose the projection from him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much. Yes. And then also you have the option of moving participants. Sometimes for whatever reason they want to get moved or they need to be moved to different groups. So then you can just click where it says join. And actually that's if as a co-host and a host, you can jump into different groups. So you can join any group that's open. And so you just click that join button and you can just go into the session, any sessions. And then also, like I said, if you do need to move participants, you can just click on the assign button and then it'll give you the count of how many participants are in each group. And then it'll allow you to move people to different groups if needed. All right. And then finally, you can broadcast messages to people in the breakout groups. So if if you need to give them a reminder of you only have 5 minutes or you have 1 minute, right? Or any tasks that they need to complete, then you can send them a message. The message, they cannot click on it. So you cannot send links. You can only send a message and then the message will disappear within about 10 to 15 seconds after it appears. And then as you close the groups, it'll give participants about a minute or 30 seconds, depending on how long you set for them to come back to the main group, and then it'll bring everybody back. One thing to keep in mind is to make sure and not click leave meeting or end meeting for all, but leave breakout rooms, because sometimes by accident we click too quick, right? So if you are going into breakout groups or people are going, making sure that you're not leaving the meeting, but actually you're only leaving the breakout groups. All right. And then at the end, right, of your meeting, you want to click that end meeting for all, just so that so you will be ending every meeting and starting every meeting, right? So they're not going to be concurrent. You're going to have to exit, right, end the meeting for everyone and then go back, right, to the Zoom account, and then start the new meeting right after. So as soon as and that's why we have very limited time, because we want to make sure that you have enough time to do that as you're transitioning from one session to the next. Okay. Yeah. And I believe that is all, and we know it's a lot of information. Yeah. So we do want to open just the floor for any questions or anything that we may not have covered. And I know Joshua is gonna also share a little bit of information about schedules.
Also, before we wrap up, before we go into the questions, I just want to share also, we do have a presenter orientation on Thursday, and that is going to be a webinar style presentation. And we invited all of our presenters and speakers to it. We hope that many can join us, but we know that some of them will also be watching the recording. But we invite you guys, if you guys can, to attend also. You'll get plenty of information on just not only the presentations, but also the conference overall. We'll go over the conference portal, how people are going to be accessing information. Presenters are going to be uploading handouts, so we're going to show them how to do that. We're going to show them how to, access everything, and you guys can also benefit from watching it. So I'm putting the information in the chat box right now, and I'll also send it to you guys via email so that you can just add it to your calendar. And if you have a chance, you could join and, get information for that. And you'll know what your presenters know, so that your presenters won't know stuff that you don't know. It'd be good to take time to watch that.
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. And just to reiterate what Vanessa said, I mean, a lot of it is to just really, once you get there, talk to your presenter and what do they feel comfortable with? What do they want to, we shared a lot of the features in Zoom, but we might not need them all, really, depending on the presenter. It's really, the presenter might want you to share your screen. So if you don't have to share your screen, it's, less Zoom feature that you're using, but we do want to make sure that you know of them in case the presenter does ask you to share.
And if you do have a Zoom account of your own, a personal account, or if you don't, it is free, but we do recommend, just go in there and play with the buttons, right? Just open a session on your personal accounts and just press the buttons and see what happens, right? Try out some of these options just so that you're familiar on where everything is. And Marta, I see your hand.
Hi, how long do we have to talk to the presenter before the presentation? Because there's a lot of information that you guys are asking us to ask, and there's usually like 10 minutes.
So this year, the time was extended, right? There's going to be 20 minutes in between sessions.
Okay.
So there will be more time learnings from last year, right? Again, we want to stay, that's why it's important that we keep our presenters on time as much as we can so that you have more time to, and Vanessa, I don't know if you have more specific.
No, that is correct. For the first session, you may even have, we're asking you all to log in 30 minutes prior to the first session because the room will be empty. So you'll have up to 30 minutes, to connect with your presenters. Martha, you'll have 30 minutes because your presenters are going to stay the same, each one, for the film festival. But you'll have 30 minutes, and then as soon as it's really important to adhere to the times. And as soon as the first session is over, end it and start the new one, so that you can connect with your next presenters and try not to be rushed. And I mean, even if you just log in and then let them in, and maybe you need to step away to get water or something, like that's okay. But just try to go ahead and open the meeting for them.
Okay.
And we are going to tell them on the guide 15 minutes, right? That they can log in 15 minutes before. That way you have 5-minute wiggle room, right? To end the session and then start the new session. And then hopefully they'll be logging in 15 minutes before their session starts. So we will be asking them to be on time as much as possible so that you can share this information with them. All right. Any other questions before we? Okay, well, and I know Joshua needed to share also some information.
Yeah, just real quick. We have some temps in here, and thank you for all the temps and everyone for giving up your time to help us with this conference. We really do need your help. So thank you. So just a reminder, what Vanessa said, we do have a presenter webinar tomorrow at 4. So we ask you to be there, or not tomorrow, Thursday. You say it 7 times, you remember it. Thursday.
We don't know what day it is anymore, Josh. That's what it is.
So yeah, that's gonna be Thursday. Also, I'll be sending your schedules, but Wednesday through Friday, you guys will be working from 3 to 7:30, and then Saturday, it'll be 8 to 1:30. So just wanted to remind you guys that. I'll send you an email with this information. As well, but I also did want to let you guys know that we are planning to have kind of like an open support day. We did this last year. It's either going to be the end of this week or early next week. So date and times are TBD, but usually what we did last year in this event, we had some of our more techie people, I guess, quote unquote, who use Zoom a lot more, kind of have a free open range just to test it, ask questions, show you the different features again, kind of to brush up on some of these skills, because it's one thing for us to kind of show you, and then there's another thing for you to actually do it. And then I just do really recommend what Ruby said. Zoom is free. You can go on there and have a Zoom meeting for free for 45 minutes. So if you make an account, just go there. You can play around with it, share screen, do all that. I learned a lot by actually using Zoom on my cell phone and on my computer at the same time and just playing with it, seeing what everyone else sees. So just kind of some tips and food for thought. That's it. I think that's it for the temps. But if you guys need any help, you guys know how to reach me as well. I'll send you an email with your schedules as well as your time cards. Thank you again for being here.
Yeah, and I know, thank you, Ruby. I know that you also sent our emails. So in case any questions on any of the information that we shared today, please feel free to reach out to us, to either Ruby, myself, or Andrea. We're happy to really assist and provide you with any support as well.
And then to respond to Laura's message in the chat, Laura, we did receive your team's signups, but we haven't had the chance to plug in because you guys have specific things. So we're gonna plug you guys in. Almost everybody, with the exception of the Mount Diablo and the SCCOE team, should have received their assignments. And I sent that email at the beginning of this meeting. I will resend it again. It'll tell you your role of either facilitator or chat handler, and like we mentioned, we're still recruiting, so you may only see your name right now. We might hopefully we'll be able to add a chat handler. So once we do that, I'll resend your letter again, so you're aware of the name and the email address of who's supporting you. And again, of those that haven't received the information will receive it.
Great, thank you. I just want to make sure that I didn't fill out the wrong form.
No, I have your information. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I see 2 hands up. Lori. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm working on assigning board members to introduce the sessions. And so there will be a board member entering into all of the rooms to do introductions, especially for all the featured speakers and the featured panels and things like that. And so we're going to be sharing, I'm not sure, I'll have to talk to Vanessa about how she wants to do this, but we have a list of VIPs to admit early into your room. So you want to keep an eye on the waiting room. And if you see the board member's name who's going to be coming in to introduce someone, or you see a special guest listed or a staff member listed, those people you would want to admit before the attendees so that they can have a quick conversation and get things arranged prior to. And so we'll get you a list of who should be admitted.
We can add that to the folder.
Great, that'd be perfect. Yeah.
Together. Yeah.
Yeah. So be sure to check that list so that you know who to look for to let in early prior to the attendees.
Okay, thank you, Lori. And Carmen, I see your hand.
Yes, hi, I am from Mount Diablo, and we have like 5 or 6 people that are gonna help. So when are we gonna get our assignments? And they were not invited to this training.
Carmen, we will make the recording available for them, but I'm working on getting them scheduled into the room, to the room and the date that they have provided they're available. And then we'll for sure send out the link for this recording.
Okay, I want to ask something. Can you put me with Marga Marshall?
I need to check with Delma because I thought you were going to be in the information booth. So let me double check on that.
Oh,
I am here, and yes, it's perfectly fine. I would love to come in there. We will have.
I was going to be on Tuesday on the exhibit halls, but I also signed for Zoom handlers. So if you can put me with Marga, unless that you want me to be someplace.
No.
Okay.
Thank you
She's
so
making
much.
that request because we were the perfect dynamic duo last year.
Yes.
Yes, you were.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Sonia, I see your hand.
Yeah, I have a quick question. I'm just noticing the backgrounds are a little different. I see Norma's and then I see Cynthia's. There's like a shadow of wording behind it.
Tony, just you need to look in our teams folders and look for your name. They've been updated. Look in our teams Google.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to comment that there's 2 versions, Tony. There's a pre-conference and then there's a CABE 2022 background for the team. So it looks like you have the pre-conference one. I can tell.
Okay. Yeah, I made my own because it wasn't in the folder, but yeah, I'll go ahead and look for the updated.
Let me know if it's not there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, and if you don't have one, we will work on that, and you will have a link on the facilitator guide where you will be able to find it for sure. Okay.
Or I can just make it from the ones in there too.
I also pasted one on the chat for our support, for our extra support team.
Thank you so much, Norma. And Ariana, I see your hand.
Hi, so I know we're part of the exhibitors on Tuesday, but you said there's also a separate Zoom for the conference information booth.
Ariana, it's Delma.
Hi, Delma.
Yeah, you're fine. It's the same thing. You have an exhibit booth. That's the same thing. Exhibit information booth. And that's on Tuesday. And then if you can extend your services throughout the rest of the week, would greatly be appreciated.
Got it. Just wanted to clarify, make sure there wasn't 2 separate different things. Thank you, Delma.
You're welcome.
Any last questions before we go? Right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your patience. We know we gave you a lot of information, but we will make this recording available to everyone so that you can review it if needed. You will also have the links available to the facilitator guide. We do recommend that you save it into your Google Drive so you have it in a place where you can easily find it. And please, I did post our emails also in the chat. If anybody has any questions or you notice that anything needs to, permissions for Google or anything like that that you notice, please feel free to email us and let us know, and we will make any changes necessary as soon as possible. So thank you everyone so much, and please have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon, hopefully on Thursday at 4 o'clock. So that you can learn about the CABE portal and you can learn all about where to find everything. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Gracias, gracias.